What is up, guys? My name is Faith Unlimited. Welcome to the stream. As you guys can tell from the title, we're talking about the movie again, and I think this will be probably the final dedicated stream to it. I had an entire video where we went over everything about the movie because it was the original live stream where we went over it, watched it live. We got your reaction. We got everyone's reaction. It was fun. It was great. Everyone enjoyed it. We all had a good time. Unfortunately, Netflix doesn't want you guys to have a good time. They've had that video blocked for a while now, unfortunately. And so there's nothing I can do about it. It's on the Patreon because I had to host it on Vimeo. There's nothing I can do to get it unblocked. I have tried forever to get it unblocked, so we're just gonna game. We're gonna chat about it. We'll probably give it quite a few hours here. We'll go ahead, we'll detail all the stuff about the movie, what I liked, what I didn't like, the things that I had problems with, and then we'll put it together in a video, and then we'll call it a night, because god damn it, I have really cute fan art of it for the thumbnail. Actually, let me get it. I think I've only posted this to the Patreon, so there we go. There's the game. There's the thumbnail. And by golly, I need a video to use this thumbnail for, because it's too perfect. I can't not use this thumbnail. Are you kidding me? Right? So we have to talk about the movie. Plus, it was one of the latest things to come out of MLP that I've actually watched, because I didn't watch any of the shorts. I tried watching Pony Life. God knows I gave it a fair shake. But I couldn't get into Pony Life. Pony Life was just not for me. I was not feeling good as hell watching Pony Life. And I know a lot of people weren't feeling good as hell. I know a lot of people, we had the poll and we had 300 of you, vote that Izzy was perfection. And I love that. I'm so happy that most people found Izzy to be the perfect character from the show. She was certainly my favorite. I know that she was a favorite for a lot of you guys too. So obviously you guys know I did a lot of theory videos about G5, or I did a lot of videos going over G5 and stuff. The original concept from the leaked emails that we saw with G5 were way more expansive than what we got. In a sense, what we got, the reason why some parts of it probably feel a little bit rushed and a little bit jumbled was the fact that it may have had to be changed just last minute. When those leaks came out, it was years, 2 years ago, but movies take a long time to develop. And so it takes a little while to switch up. If you're switching up your core of your show, remember it was supposed to take place on multiple worlds. Each race wasn't just gonna have these small little villages of 20 people. It was gonna have entire worlds on some Star Wars type stuff filled with those specific races, where unicorns had their own world, Pegasites had their own world, and Earth ponies had their own world, and they would both kind of dabble in different things. I would imagine the Earth ponies were supposed to dabble in agriculture, and we kind of see that divide here in the actual movie, where each of the races have very different societal structure, and the Earth ponies seem more akin to normal human society, as in they have normal levels of technology, be it movie theaters, and they just have normal roads, etc. And I think it's because they're supposed to be most like us, because Earth ponies never had exterior magic, right? They had always interior magic. They were supposed to be, they kind of had to give them luck, really. Let's be honest. Earth ponies were just way lower than every other race. Earth ponies, if you remember in the one Sweet Apple, what was it? There was one video, all right? I can't remember what it was. Applejack was working herself to death trying to pick all the apples in the orchard, right? And in the end, she realizes that she couldn't do it without help. Twilight comes in the end and picks half the orchard by herself. She just pulls everything out. Earth ponies, just whatever they can do, whatever they're supposed to excel at, unicorns and Pegasi could just do better. And honestly, even unicorns can just do everything by themselves. They can self-levitate, they can give themselves wings. And so they had to give the earth ponies something like this quote-unquote innate magic, which is probably why their society is the most mundane. The Pegasi literally live in the clouds. They have this technologically advanced city. Their society seems way more advanced. They have all these flat screen TVs. There's literally at some points like 6, 7 flat screen giant TVs for one side of the street. It's pretty insane. So the societies are very different. The only problem is the unicorns get this massive downgrade, I guess because they lose their magic, and I don't know if the movie was kind of touching on this on purpose or if it just happened like that. Because the unicorns rely on magic so much, their society is pretty much like destroyed because they can't use magic to create anything. So it essentially, when you take away a unicorn's magic, they're a worse earth pony because they haven't had to rely on the things that earth ponies had to rely on, and they're just not built like earth ponies. Earth ponies are supposed to be like tough and everything like that. Hutch seems to have a really good connection to animals. Yeah, and that's one of the things. Fluttershy always had a good connection to animals. A lot of the stuff that we see dealing with nature directly, we typically see the earth ponies being the ones to handle that. So the worlds are still very separate, but like the whole thing is they're not actually that far apart. I don't know if you guys caught that in the movie, but like these societies are literally like a day's journey away. It's not like these are on different planets or different worlds. The fact that they almost know nothing about each other in this movie, it's still kind of baffling to me. I don't know about you guys, if you guys were fine with that, but it's like, remember Sunny, like they're preparing for war with these things. Part of the intro, remember, was all of them building up to the fact that they were preparing all these different things to protect themselves from Unicorn and Pegasi. But the Unicorn and Pegasi have never attacked them because they don't know that they don't have magic. It seems weird that their economy is so largely based on this, and they're so close together, yet they know almost nothing about each other. It just seems like a major plot point that I can't really get over. And I don't know, it kind of breaks down the world a little bit because it's supposed to be that they're supposed to be in turmoil, they're supposed to hate each other, but you're telling me in all these years of being like super close to one another, of preparing to fight one another, it's never came to blows, and they've never once realized that like, hey, actually it turns out, you know, there's no logical reason for us to hate each other. Because don't get me wrong, some of the fear in this movie that's brushed aside, like unicorns and deadly lasers and Pegasi being able to take over and, you know, hurt earth ponies, it's completely valid. I kind of hate that the movie treats it as if it's not. Molly, maybe some kind of threat happened and caused them to be unable to meet, but no, because they can just cross. We saw they just cross as normal. Like there's no giant monsters, there's no obstacle like keeping these cities apart. It's just literally their own fear, I guess, keeping them apart. But like I said, the unicorns definitely could destroy pretty much every other race. They are legitimately dangerous in a sense. Like, I mean, think about it. How many of the villains in G4 were unicorns? Like, let's be honest, almost every single villain except for Cozy Glow was a unicorn or a magic user. It's not exactly outlandish to be a little bit afraid of them. It is kind of dumb that they kind of treat, like Sunny treats everyone's fears as if they're completely baseless. Which, like, yes, they think they still have magic, but even if they didn't have, like, if you're working on the assumption, because Sunny thinks that they have magic too. If you're working on that assumption, then you should realize that, yeah, they're still dangerous. It doesn't mean you have to treat them bad, but it's still a valid concern to prepare for. The Pegasi are pretty cool. Their world is way more advanced, obviously, but some of the things that really irk me are like the wing designs of the Pegasi, because like you look at some of the wing designs and most of them seem normal. Like you see all of this is This is all pretty normal, right? But then you get to like, I'm gonna play it normally. Like, it's mainly Pip's wings. They're like fluffy, and that just like irks me. And the whole concept that like, oh, it's just strings and wires that are making them fly. Where are the strings and wires in this shot? The amount of strength it would take to pull them like that is just like absurd. This whole concept is a little bit absurd that they're the only ones that are supposed to be able to fly for who knows what reason they gave. But that like it was all a sham, that they were using wires. I felt like you could have gotten probably something better with that plot point. You could have still had them not able to fly and made it like some sort of grand conspiracy, right? But I feel like the whole making it wires, making it controlled by some guy in a back room, like it's literally two strings. One of the things that I probably would have done is, honestly, maybe I would have given them magic. Maybe it was like their close proximity to the gym, because remember, she has to figure out that the gyms actually do contain the magic, and that putting them all together would somehow give all the races their magic. There has to be some reason why she thinks that, other than seeing it in like, what was it? She saw it in like the basement, and because she saw it in the basement, she just put 3 and 3 together and was like, oh yeah, if we just put it together, magic should just come back. That it just felt like it was like a giant leap in logic. Like, if we just put these gyms together, everything will be a-okay. If you showed somehow that the gym still had magic, that would make sense, because you still get it that because that would even, okay, so here's a good point that I just kind of thought of. You know how everyone becomes like a fugitive and stuff? If they actually did have the gyms, and the gyms did cause them to have magic, that's an actual reason to go through and say that now the princesses are fugitives, because they were hoarding magic. It could have been possible, maybe the crowd just assumes that they could have spread the magic around and that they chose not to. That's a real reason to actually get upset at the princesses, right? Like, you actually have a real reason now to be upset, to get mad, and to like question them. Of course you're gonna want to arrest them then, because they could actually fly. Of course, you'd have to probably figure out something with the unicorns. The whole unicorn arc really was one of the worst done ones, and probably because it was the last one. It was the last one that she had to go on for the journey in order to do this. And it felt the most rushed, because they get to the unicorn land, they find out where the gym is, and the whole thing is about teaching people not to believe stereotypes. But the problem is almost all the characters they interact with are stereotypes. They're bad, negative stereotypes. They are seen as, they're supposed to be seen as cheaters. When the queen gets there, she accuses the unicorn of cheating to get the gem back from them. And the issue is, they're right. They win fair and square in the DDR game, which already was pretty bad. Like, she's just like, he makes some arbitrary thing of, if you even win once, you win. And it's something that he didn't need to do at all. It makes no sense for him to do it. Why would he do it? He was gonna win if he had just stuck to 2 out of 3. But for some reason, his character decides magically that, nah, you know what? Actually, I need to make sure that they win. And when they do win, for some reason, he decides that because they're exposed as being not a unicorn, because she can dance around. Where is that scene actually? Because that scene really pisses me off. She's dancing around on DDR the entire time. No issues, right? With her fake horn. Then she like lightly lifts her head up for a celebration, and she's exposed to be a non-unicorn. Like, it was so dumb how that happened. Yeah, see, it just like, really, it just happens to fall off right then and there. And for some reason, not only did he, like, I can understand him saying like, hey, you lied to me. Maybe he thinks earth ponies are naturally good dancers or something, right? Okay, cool, whatever. It doesn't make sense, but we can go with that. Why does he then demand to take the Pegasi crystal as well? Again, just solidifying that Pegasi are greedy or cheaters, etc. This whole thing is literally, this whole journey should just solidify to Sunny that, you know what? Actually, everyone was right about all the other races. They are horrible, they are rude, they are awful, because every single person, with the exception of the core group who she's with, who doesn't even really do that much for her, really does act like the stereotype. The Pegasi imprison her. The unicorns try to cheat her and steal her stuff. Like, it's all really fucking bad. And when they do escape with the crystal, which made the whole D&D thing, like, or DDR thing pointless, because they just end up stealing it anyways. Like, yeah, we're awful, but let's be friends anyways. Yeah, we'll get to Sprout, because Sprout is a thing all on his own. But I want to go over just like the base overview of this movie, because I thought this was some real shenanigans, honestly. The fucking queen appears out of nowhere. Doesn't make any sense, but I go over that and everything's wrong. Okay, fine. She's there. She's there with them, right? They all, and she's there to be arrested because the guards come too, like literally, like, what is it, like a couple of seconds afterwards? The guards come like a couple of seconds afterwards to arrest her, right? And for some reason, when they try to put the crystal back together and they fail, for some reason they thought, okay, we only need 2 of the 3 races crystals in order to return magic to everyone. When that fails, everyone just immediately gives up for some reason. They no longer want to arrest the queen. Like, the guards just go away. The unicorn chieftain, for some reason, no longer wants his crystal back, despite never thinking it was magic to begin with. Sunny decides, you know what? It wasn't that every other race was being exceptionally exactly like how the stereotype said they were. It's that I couldn't bring back magic. So I couldn't bring back magic. Guess I'll just be a racist then. You know, like, it was so dumb. It was such a, they need that in the 3rd act for the protagonist to lose their faith. They need that loss of faith so that they can make a triumphant return. But this was one of the most ham-fisted, like, falling off of the cliff kind of ways that they could have done it. It was so dumb that this was the way that they chose for her to lose her faith in restoring the races. And even then, when they finally get to the finale of returning magic, like, it still doesn't work. It takes them all helping her to put the pieces of her shattered picture back together in order for that to come back. So, you know, it takes all of them doing a small gesture of the most minimum amount of effort possible of this like pointless gesture. Like, yeah, we were literally just having a race war a few seconds ago, but you know what? We were really touched by you attempting to give us magic again. Last time, you know, it was a fluke. When you risked everything to try to give us magic, then didn't count. This time it totally counts. And this brief moment over thousands of years, I assume, of like hating each other, of barricading their cities against one another, this brief moment was enough to like return the magic. I hated that so much because it felt a little forced. Well, more than a little forced. It felt super forced. And of course, we can't ignore Alicorn Sunny as well, and that implication. Friendship conquers all, yeah. But I don't want to make it all doom and gloom, because it's really easy to hate things and to get into that mindset of hating things, right? There were some things that this movie did really well. It was just buried deep down inside. Some of the character acting, which we didn't get to see for all of them, like Pip didn't really get to flex her personality as much. A lot of people just see her as Instagram girl. She's a Zoomer, therefore she's bad, forgetting that this current generation is who this is targeted for. That's a really cute face on Izzy. I'm so glad I paused it there. Pip is probably one of the most hated, and it's just because it reminds a lot of people that the show's not made for them. A lot of people who were watching this movie who were upset are older. They're like mid-20s or something like that, and they really hate when things are catered to the younger generation. The thing is that being a YouTuber, being an Instagram celebrity, being an Instagram model, all these things aren't exactly these crazy ideas anymore, and that a lot of kids aspire to be these things. So having a character that builds on those tropes isn't bad. It's actually quite reasonable. If you're trying to relate to kids today, like I think YouTuber is honest. I think YouTuber was one of the highest rated jobs the kids wanted. Like, it's not astronaut, fireman, policeman. It's YouTuber, Instagram celebrity, professional gamer, etc. Zip is a pretty good Rainbow Dash archetype. I don't like to compare these ones to G4 a lot, but you gotta admit, I'm blocking Zip, but like, you guys know what Zip looks like. All right, there we go. There she is. Zip is really close to Rainbow Dash. I love her personality. I love her confidence, her just kind of voice dynamic. How she has that high, kind of more girly tone, and then this deeper tone that she goes into when she's monologuing to herself, or when she's speaking to herself. I love the fact that they also didn't make her just like a dumb jock as well. Because Rainbow Dash wasn't exactly dumb. A lot of people fall into that trope of thinking Rainbow Dash was dumb. Rainbow Dash wasn't dumb. She was a different type of learner, as we saw on the show, and she was just interested in very specific things. So if it didn't pertain to the things that she's interested in, she didn't really care. But if we look in the background, and I pointed this out in the Everything's Wrong With, Zip isn't a dum-dum. She has a deep personality where she's like super into math and flight, and like, this is not simple. This isn't simple stuff that she's into. She's a really detailed and fascinating character. And I think that it really, like, it's subtle. Like, the things that show that off are super subtle, but like, this is not simple equations. I also appreciate that like some of these equations are actually just real, and they all pertain to flight. Like, what is this? This is like the flight descent equation here. It is made to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's pony. It's supposed to be VONY, I believe. Yeah, it's supposed to be VONY. So there's no P in the actual equation. I'm not sure what P would even refer to in this, but it is all real. Like, she's not a dummy, and the movie is only like an hour or so long, right? So there's not a lot of time to extrapolate on these minute character things, but like, it's just the subtle things in the background, which if you want to read into the movie, you can get a lot about these characters. The queen is like probably seen as being bad or evil, but she's not bad or evil. She is right that like people were happy just knowing that they could fly. That was enough to, yeah, P for Pegasus. People were happy just knowing that their leaders could fly, because that gives them hope. It gives them hope that maybe one day they'll be able to fly and they can live vicariously through their rulers. It's not always, when rulers do things that are necessarily good, it's not because they're bad, it's because they're thinking of the greater good. Sometimes it's okay for leaders to lie in order to avoid causing more damage, more panic. We see what the unicorns are like when they realize that magic is gone and it's not coming back. Their entire society is doom and gloom. Everything is depressive. Everything is sad. But just giving the Pegasi that little bit of a spark, that little bit of hope that, hey, maybe things will come back, has transformed their entire society into a utopia where this is their prison. Like with fresh fruit, golden like accoutrements, massage chairs, like this is their prisons. And I think that speaks volumes to them as like a group. And obviously, while we're here, Izzy is just adorable. Her character is written very consistently for one of the hyperbolic characters. So it's really easy to consider her to be a Pinkie Pie clone, but I think she's more consistently done in this movie than Pinkie Pie was done over the course of her seasons, which, yes, it's not fair to compare seasons to a single instance, but I think Izzy's entire personality was a little bit more than just being a Pinkie Pie clone. She says some things that really make it seem that she's more aware of her situations. One of the main criticisms that I have for Pinkie Pie is her lack of self-awareness of how her actions affect other people. And while it's really easy to say, well, remember the intro, she was super scatterbrained and she wasn't like avoiding the traps. Well, yeah, but the traps were only putting her at risk. It wasn't putting Sunny at risk. Some of the things that Pinkie Pie did put her friends at risk or caused her friends a little bit of pain or mental anguish. Izzy is a lot more self-contained. There's some language that she uses that suggests that she's thinking on a higher kind of field than Pinkie Pie ever really displayed, talking about the power dynamics of the group because of Hitch's status as being a jailer. Things like that. These subtle jokes that kind of show these characters and how they're developing and what we can expect from them. And if they continue this, I think it's going to be really great for the series. And, you know, Sunny is also pretty interesting. I don't like that she has the dead parents issue that a lot of protagonists get. They all have that dead parents thing where our parents are dead, and that's our motivation, because her mother was never in the picture. Her father mysteriously dies for no real reason, and it just seems like I don't feel that her father dying really served any sort of urgency. I don't think it, like, when you have a character's parents die, it should be because it is necessary to the story, not simply to try to add a cheap depth of giving this character a sad backstory. And I think that's where they kind of fumbled with Sunny a bit. It was used as a prop rather than an actual storytelling mechanic. It wasn't that she needed dead parents. It was that they wanted to give her a tragic story, and they thought that's all they really needed for the motivation. But she was already on the path of wanting to do this stuff. She already wanted to prove that Earth Pony and Pegasi could live happily together and that they could all be nice. There was really no reason to kill off the father. In fact, something that would have been more impactful would have had the father lose his faith. To maybe you could have had it that the father couldn't afford to keep paying the bills of the house because no one wants to associate with him because he's the crazy kook that's always going on about unity. And that eventually you have something like the Chicken Little movie, you know, from Disney or Pixar or whoever, right? Where the father wants to believe their son totally and is super invested. But when he's proven wrong, his main goal is now to protect his child. And so the father in this case would like, listen, Sunny, unity is great and all, but don't you want to have a life? Don't you want to be able to live? You have no friends. No one wants to hang out with you. Don't you want to be normal and accepted? and some sort of fight like that, and maybe having the father like yell at her is something that literally drives her off to go, I don't know, search out the unicorns. And maybe that would make even more sense, because Izzy has apparently had that letter for forever and only just now stumbles upon the town randomly. It just seems a little bit weird. I know someone had mentioned Sprout. I don't get Sprout's transformation. Like, call me crazy. Maybe I'm alone in this. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me that Sprout turned as evil as he did. His mother kind of, like, his mother is super wishy-washy. She's like telling him like, oh, you can be sheriff now. Like she's trying to push him into a position of power and trying to get him to take the reins and stuff. And that's all fun and good. But it's like, what was his motivation? Yep, wrong screen. To become truly evil, to want to start a war with the unicorns. His mother has always taught him a defensive measures. All their gear is defensive. And for some reason, he then decides he wants to go to war with the unicorns. And it wasn't really seemingly to gain his mother's approval, because he starts disobeying her and shutting her out. So he's like propped up as his mother's boy. He just wants his mother's affection, his mother's approval, and to make mommy happy. But then when he actually gets the power, he forgets all about mommy dearest. And so it's like, who is he really doing this for? Why is he doing this? The mob super goes with him, but I'm kind of okay with the mob in a sense going with him if it was to like barricade their cities and completely cut off everything. But they all think that these unicorns can like melt their minds, and the Pegasi can just lift them up and cause the weather to like be super cold. This would not be a war that you would want to fight head on. Like, I doubt that the writers are trying to say that Twilight Sparkle failed, because if we look at it, it looks like they were still together way after the passing of Twilight Sparkle. Us thinking that the princesses are immortal is totally just what we perceive, because Faust herself had said like, it's not that she's immortal, she just won't outlive her friends, was her original saying. So let me see here. Let me put you back on my lovely face here. Because I don't think Bridalwood was an original city, because this would totally prove my point right here, is that I think even up until like fairly recently, of all these new cities being established, the unicorn, Pegasi, or pony, they were all friends. And so it's not that Twilight Sparkle or the princesses failed, it's just that something else happened after their passing. It's totally possible that just like everything could go wrong without anyone necessarily doing anything like bad. The leadership just becomes less and less effective at unifying everyone. Maybe it's that they spread out too much and they start to lose that connection with one another. Maybe some sort of self-segregation from their own biases. If we remember in G4, it didn't take much for all the ponies to turn against the other races. Like, remember the ending of G4 with them like whispering? It took just like one half truth. It didn't even need to be verified. Like, he doesn't need to verify it with anyone. He just assumes that what he was told was right, and now he hates all Earth ponies. It was, or at least he's now negative towards them, right? And this culminates later on into like full-on race riots. We see that even when the princesses are at their full strength, these societies are all like threads away from falling apart. So it's not that I don't think the whole message here is that Princess Twilight failed somehow, or that Celestia and Luna failed somehow. This is something that could have happened at any point, And without them being here actively protecting it, it was bound to happen. I think it was just honestly more of they were functioning as a security blanket. The societies were relying on heroes to do it, but societies can't run off of generosity, charity, and heroes. Because if we run off of, it's the same reason why we have social benefit programs from the government, rather than just relying on like some sort of charity program. Because if we're relying on charity, if we're relying on heroes, it means that we're never going to be able to independently solve these problems. We're always going to be chained down and reliant on these things. So if we're relying on the main six to solve all the problems, when they die, when they pass on, because as we saw, the main six have normal lifespans, it seems, with the exception of Twilight, who might be like slightly longer living, but they visibly are aging, and like they look older. Like they look older here, and you can just see how they. Yeah, flashback. Yeah, there we go. Like they'll have bags, they have gray hair in some scenes. Like I swear they had gray hair. Oh, it's just Rarity, I guess, who for some reason have gray hair. But like they're visibly aging, and they're aging what it seems like at a normal rate. So you're talking fairly soon it's just Twilight, and you saw how easy it was to do when they were at full strength all together. I'm just saying, I don't think that was the whole point of these scenes, were to say that like Twilight and them failed, because I keep on seeing that brought up like over and over, like how bad did Twilight mess up, how bad did she fuck up, like this and that, and just I don't think that's what the writers were getting at here. Was it poorly conveyed? Absolutely. But yeah. Oh God, you are all, Chad is being horny for some reason right now about me. Not sure if this was axed, but would Sprout get a redemption arc? Maybe. Of any sort. I remember a fan coming, depicting a bittersweet moment of it. But I'm curious if it would be something that happened. Unfortunately, with Sprout, it doesn't seem like Sprout. No, God, every time I do, the servers get DDoS, and so there's just no point. there is no gameplay to be had. I'm sorry, the servers are just getting DDoS to shit. It doesn't seem like Sprout is ever facing any real repercussions. We kind of see at the end, they're just kind of okay with it. Like he's never punished at any point that we see. Like even in the end of Equestria Girl's first movie, we see that Sunset is picking up the bricks and she has to start rebuilding the school. Obviously she's not going to probably rebuild the whole school. They're probably just making her do it for that night and probably then switching her to community service or something. But yeah, so I don't think he needs a redemption arc. He might have a character building moment, but like I said, he kind of lost. I don't know what that would look like, because his original thing was to please his mother, right? And maybe finding out that he doesn't need to please everyone, or that he can find satisfaction in just what he wants and not what his mother wants would be good. But that's only if they kept it being that he wanted to please his mom. But yeah, so I don't think Sprout needs a redemption arc, and if they do give him one, they're gonna have to finagle it. Like Trixie and Starlight and Sunset are all like, those are all good redemption arcs. G4 in its later years, its story got more muddled, and some of the stories got, I don't know, more rushed. But one of the things that happened for sure is they mastered the art of like meaningful redemption with their characters. They didn't just all become instantly good or bad, or learn to like completely remove their personalities. Like Starlight and Trixie, they still get up to some devious licks, you know, in more than one way, I'm sure. She's not completely a goody two shoes. In fact, her personality influences Twilight in a positive way by getting her to stop stressing, stop focusing on doing everything by the book, even when it's hurting those around her or hurting herself. So I'm asked where Cher got her name. Cher is Cher Noble. Cher Noble, split into two words. It is literally that. Yes, it is it's that simple. Russian hat, Russo Franco. I made her when so here's a funny thing, right? I go all my life pretty solidified in my identity, like my cultural background and stuff. And I learned, like, we have some, I think it was the internet repair person one day come to our house, and you know, they were just making idle chit chat with us, and they asked about my last name and stuff, and they were like, oh, is that French? And I just say no, because, like, you know, we've been all over the world and stuff, and I know, like, my brother is German, my sister's like British. They're like, I just say no, and my mom just walks in and just tells me, like, oh no, yeah, we actually have a really deep-rooted French ancestry. And so I find out that, hey, I actually have a really strong French background, apparently. And so I took Cher, like, so Cher Noble is to go with the Russian side, and then Cher is also French. And so it's Chernobyl, but it's spelled Cher Noble, as in Noble being the last name, Cher being the first name, because Cher is French. And then altogether, it's a Russian city. So I thought it was kind of cute. And so that's what I went with for this character's name. And I think I've said my piece on the series. So, as always, you know, I've been Cher Meliminis, whichever you want to call me. Cher, Faith, whatever. I love your faces, so I hope you like my videos. And drop a like if you haven't already, by the way, on the stream. I see we're at 60, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, if you haven't liked the video, I would appreciate it if you did so. If you haven't subbed, which I think everyone here is probably subbed. But if you're not, go ahead and drop a sub. And follow on Twitch. You can also get into the Discord. You can support me on Patreon for support the stuff that I do, mainly for the artwork and stuff, because we offer really cool and I think pretty cute artwork. See you guys next time. Outro.